Pandemonium reigns.
Pandemonium reigns, coming in your ears, in your business, and in your speakers. Thank you so much for tuning in, hanging out with me today. I'm riding solo. World comes at you fast. We have real jobs, so Mike cannot be with me today. Celebrating 14 years as a married man. Happy anniversary to my beautiful wife, Courtney. I love you. But the show must go on, right? Don't let her hear this. Don't tell her I said that. We got to talk football. We got to talk ball. So much took place on Saturday. Saturday's slate was a gift from the Lord God above. Thank you so much for that. So let's dive right into this. Before we do, thank you so much for liking and subscribing, telling people about us. We're growing. It's so cool to watch the numbers. It's up because of you guys, and we thank you so, so much for that. All right, let's dive right in. Clemson, Florida State. Clemson 24, Florida State 31. Let me just tell you, this game was played on more than just the field. This was a game against two different operations. One operation stuck in its ways, refuses to adapt, doesn't want to hit the transfer portal, wants to stick to purely recruiting high school and bringing players in that way. And then you have Florida State, just the opposite of Dabo, who's like, listen, we'll get them however. We'll hit the transfer portal. We'll do it that way. We'll add that way. We'll build our team that way. And we'll show you that it don't matter. That it don't matter. Florida State was the better team. I'm really not sure how this ended up only being a 7-point game come Saturday, 31-24 in the Seminoles' favor. Because again, this game was played on more than just the field. It was played in its team meetings. It was played in its operations. It was played in Dabo's head at night. Refusing to build his team through the transfer portal. Letting them go, right? I mean, he doesn't have much choice there. But refusing to add into his team through the transfer portal. And it's starting to show. Before we get to Florida State, let me touch on Clemson. Clemson is a good football team. They are a good football team. But it's almost like they are back to their time before Deshaun Watson, before the elite quarterback play, before the elite receiver play, before the elite teams. The runs of Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence, we're not in that anymore. This is not the same Clemson. We're back in that little short kill Kelly Bryant phase and the Taj Boyd years, back when Clemsoning was known for Clemsoning. What is Dabo going to do? What is it going to take for Dabo Swinney to adjust his operation, the way he runs his football program? What's it going to take for him to change his mindset, to change his approach? I appreciate that. I appreciate a lot about Dabo. He's so cheesy. It's like it's annoying as all get out, but you got to respect it. I mean, he's doing it his own way, and for a time, in a different world, it worked, right? You know, he recruited and has recruited, continued to recruit at a really high level. But we're in a different time now. We're in the time of NIL, and we're in the time of the transfer portal. Now, I do think that the NCAA has got to get some kind of grip and hold and set boundaries and borders on the transfer portal. But we're not in that world yet. It is what it is. And Clemson is who they are, right? And I think they're paying a price for it. I told you going into the offseason or during the offseason, I think Clemson's going to be legit. They're going to be a force to be reckoned with. And it all came down to with the hiring of their offensive coordinator in Riley. I mean, he's supposed mastermind. He led TCU, big part of leading TCU to a national championship last year. You take him off that squad, and I don't know that they accomplished the same thing. I really don't. I really, really don't. And you added him to Clemson, who's recruited really well. But something's still missing. So now it begs the question, Can Dabo Swinney win without an elite quarterback? Can Dabo Swinney win without elite receiver play? He's got really good defense still, despite the loss of Venables, right? Still really good defense. And that's the defense is large in part what kept Clemson in the game. But when you look at the offensive side of things, I think they're improved from a year ago, but the only way to go from a year ago was up. They were atrocious. And Cade Klubnik is Klubnik, however you say his name. Let's just call him Cade for the sake of conversation. Cade is a good quarterback, but he's not quite living up to that, that 5-star expectation, which again goes to show you just never know until they take the field. I still think he's a really good quarterback. I still think he's the guy. Is it play calling or is it lack of elite talent around him? I'm going to go with lack of elite talent around him. Now, what you have to do is you have to look at Clemson through the contrasting lens of Florida State, who said, you know what, we got a baller in Jordan Travis. We got a dude in Jordan Travis. And we got a really good backfield due to the transfer portal in Benson, who came from Oregon. Dude is a baller, right? And we got elite receiver play, right? We got elite receiver play in Johnny Wilson, who came from the transfer portal from Arizona State via 2 years ago, who's an absolute stud. 6'7", 220, 230 probably, runs like a gazelle, gets the ball in the air. He's a dude. And then you add Keon Coleman, who is the dude, right? Who is that dude. He has taken Florida State to another level. But he's come via transfer portal. And then you add Jaheim Bell via transfer portal. And Dabo probably, I would imagine going into this game, he's like, we're going to show him how you do it, that it's culture. And Norvell says, hold my beer. Hold my beer. And they did it in Clemson, South Carolina. Let's just look at some stats. I've rambled enough about the transfer portal. But ultimately, that's what this game came down to. Operations. This game was decided when you decided how you were going to operate as a program. Here we go. Clemson, Cade Klubnik, 25 for 38, 283, and a score. Not great. Not terrible either, though. You'd like to see more, more touchdowns, but is what it is. Phil Maffa, 10 for 69, 6.9 yards per carry. That average is great. Get him the ball more. Will Shipley, 18 for 67, 3.7, and a score. I want to talk about Will Shipley just for a second. I think Will Shipley is a good running back. I think he's a very good running back. But I don't understand the hype around Will Shipley. I don't get it. I think he's good. So he's hurdled some people. Is that really what we're going to base and evaluate, and how we're going to evaluate players is their ability to put on a highlight reel? I mean, he's consistent. He's going to get what he's going to get, and he has the ability to break the long one. But I don't classify him as elite. He is not in that ETN conversation. I mean, he's not there. He's good. He's serviceable. He's solid. You know what you're going to get. I would take him. I mean, the Tennessee running back room is loaded. So I'm fine with passing on him. But if we were in a different circumstance, I'd be like, heck yeah, give me Will Shipley, man. Nonetheless, here's where I think you start to see the difference for Clemson altogether. I could name you these Clemson receivers, and for the most part, you're just not going to know who they are. And when we're talking about Clemson years ago, I said T. Higgins, you knew. Amari Rogers, you knew, right? Tyler Brown, 5 for 84. Pretty dang good, okay? Jake Brenningstool, who's a Tennessee guy, by the way. Hey, we missed out on him. 3 for 47. Troy Stellato, pretty sure that's a white dude. Double check. Yep, that's a white dude. Will Shipley, 4 for 38. Oh, Stiletto, 4 for 41. Phil Maffa, 3 for 32. Bo Collins, who I think is one of your better receivers, 4 for 29. The deal is, and Mike actually pointed this out to me, Cade does this thing in like the easy situations, the easy completions. He doesn't make it. But then he'll turn around and he'll do this really difficult, make this really difficult throw. And you're like, who are you, Cade Klubnik? Who are you? I just think he needs to be more consistent. But let's flip over to the other side. Florida State, 21 for 37 for Jordan Travis, 289, 2 scores. Trey Benson, 7 for 25. That one astounds me. Consider this. Florida, if you would have told me that Florida State is only going to rush for 22 yards, you're only going to net 22 yards rushing, I'd say, well, that's a Clemson win. Clemson win. But it wasn't. It wasn't. Because Johnny Wilson had 5 for 94. And Keon Coleman had 5 for 86 and found the end zone twice. Trey Benson had 3 catches, 50 yards. Jaheim Bell, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more out of him because, he's an absolute dude. 3 for 26. Listen, this game came down to operations and how it was going when these coaches, how they decided they were going to win. How are they going to attack the 23 season? That's when this game was decided. And you saw it, on the field. Florida State defense, I'm pretty sure, had a fumble, scoop, and score. I would like to confirm that before yep, fumble, scoop, and score. Who was that? Why can't I not find that? This is so unprofessional of me not being able to find that in this moment. Kalen DeLoach, there you go. That's who it was. Pretty sure he was the one who got the sack and scooped it up and found the end zone. That was a big difference maker right there. So here I am talking about the offensive transfer portal, and it came down to a defensive touchdown. How funny and unprofessional of me. The line was Florida State -2 going in. Obviously, Florida State covered. The over-under was 55.5. If you don't have Florida State in your Final Four, in your college football playoff, I want to know what you're thinking at this point. I want to know your perception of Florida State. Because Florida State, going forward, the Seminoles, it's not going to get too much more difficult for these guys. They get to host Virginia Tech next week, host Syracuse, host Duke, which could be an interesting matchup. I'm interested to see how they handle Duke. They're going to get those guys at home, though, and then they're going to travel to Wake Forest. I mean, these are wins in my book. At Pitt, that's a win. An improved Miami, but you get them in Tallahassee. I'm going to pick Florida State there. Let's see if is there already a line out for this. There is not, but the ESPN match predictor has got Florida State at 64.7% in winning that matchup. And then you're going to host North Alabama, and then you're going to end by traveling to Gainesville, who you make them one-dimensional. And I like Florida State. ESPN FBI has got the Seminoles 73.5 and winning this out. So you got to like them to win out. And who's going to challenge them in the conference championship game? I mean, it could be a Miami again. There's no divisions, so it could be Miami. Could be North Carolina. I think Florida State is just better than any other team in the ACC right now. But nonetheless, this is simply a review of this game, so I don't need to get carried away. Florida State marches into Clemson, South Carolina, defeats the Tigers in their operations, 24-31. Colorado made a trip to Oregon and wishes that they didn't. Came out of that getting bullied, lost that game 42-6 to the Ducks. And I don't know that if you saw or not, the Colorado pregame, they're doing their walkthrough the night before in Autzen Stadium, making fun of it. What is this? It's so tiny. Stepping on the O, digging their cleats into it, which is also dumb because it's turf. Kind of look like an idiot. Here we are. And got blasted for it. Got punched in the mouth, got punched in the gut, got punched in the nose over and over again to the beat of a 42-6 drum. I can't say that word. Can't say that word. And if you played ball if you ever had the chance to put on pads, and if you're a fiery guy, how could you not want to play for a guy like Dan Lanning? That dude is a firecracker. I loved his pregame comments to his team. They came for clicks. We came for wins. Let your pads do the talking, right? I absolutely love that. And I believe it was Shiloh Sanders who said something pregame about gonna beat your mama, something like that. Mistakes were made. Now, before I get into the actual numbers of the game, I want to say props to Deion Sanders, man. Props to Deion Sanders. I do wish that he would have gotten control of that the day before about stepping on the O and just kind of being disrespectful. Like, there's just no place in that. Like, at the end of the day, it's a game, and you need to respect other people's, venues, property, stuff like that. But for him to come out after it was over and say, man, we got our butt kicked. We had an old-fashioned butt kick, and props to them. We have stuff to work on. Man, props to you, Deion Sanders. I mean, makes me respect you. I do like that the Colorado train is humbled a little bit. Maybe the media will get out of the Buffalo rear end, but nonetheless. And I would love to know, if you're watching this, listening in, what you think about Bo Nix by this point. If you still have a image in your mind of Bo Nix with the Auburn logo on his helmet, you need to get that out of your head, because this dude is a really great quarterback. 28 for 33, 276 yards, 3 scores, and a pick. The dude can play. He can run. He can sling it. He can do everything that you want him to do. Bucky Irvin led them in rushing, 10 for 89. Corey Franklin led them in receiving, 8 for $126. We flip over. We look at Colorado here. Shedeur Sanders, 23 for 33, $159. Not good. And a score, it's good for a 28.2 QBR. Anthony Hankerson led them in rushing, 5 carries, 31 yards. Dylan Edwards, who is an absolute stud with the ball in his hand, 3 carries, 21 yards. Long of 17. So that means he had a 17-yard carry, and then wasn't very good after that, truth be told. Xavier Weaver led them in receiving, 9 for 75. Let's see. And former Tennessee Volunteer Jawan Mitchell led them in tackling. Oregon just wasn't going to have it. Just wasn't going to have it. And what's fascinating as you look at the stats is Oregon was only 3 for 10 in third down conversions. Now, they were 3 for 4 in fourth down conversions. Put not a good third down number, but you still won that game 42-6. Oregon had 30 first downs. Colorado had 13. Here's the number that just absolutely jumps off the page for you. Oregon outrushed them by 200 yards. Colorado had 40 rushing yards. Oregon had 240 rushing yards. Time of possession was won by Oregon. Over-under was set at 70. They didn't eclipse that because Colorado just simply did not carry the weight. They didn't carry the bucket. And Oregon did more than cover the spread. Vegas saw something. I don't know what they saw, but it's almost like they knew that was coming. They were the genie in the bottle. They knew it was coming. Had that spread at 21 in Oregon's favor. Oregon says 21. Dan Lanning, watch this. 42-6. Buffaloes travel to the Ducks. Get tallywhacked. Maybe this would be good for Colorado. In the same sense that I'm hoping the Tennessee loss to Florida is good. In the sense that when you saw in 2016 Deshaun Watson and Clemson lose to Pitt in the regular season and go on to win the title, sometimes a loss is good. It does good things for your football team. Maybe that's the case for Deion Sanders. I will be very interested in this Colorado USC game coming up next weekend. It's going to be at Colorado. Trojans are coming to town. And if you thought that the Ducks could put up points, watch Caleb Williams and this Lincoln Riley offense put up points. This could get nasty. I hope it's a shootout. I do hope that the Buffaloes recover and bounce back. I don't understand the hatred for Colorado, but I also don't understand why the media is all up in the Buffalo rear end. Nonetheless, I'm going to land this plane right here. Ducks handle business 42-6. Alabama 24. Ole Miss. Couldn't think of their name for a second. 10. 24-10. Now you just have to ask yourself, when's Lane Kiffin going to get this done? When is Lane Kiffin going to beat his mentor? Man, I'm sure he hates those words. But he probably doesn't listen to the Pandemonium Reigns podcast. So I'm not worried about it, right? Tide 24, Rebels 10. My question coming out of this game is, who is Alabama? Who is Alabama? And it's not, is Saban done? Is he tired? Is he exhausted? Because I'm not buying into that narrative. Not buying into that crap. I think Saban, if anybody, is smart enough to know that he'll know when his time is done. You'll know when Saban is done because he'll tell you. All right, he'll probably die on the sideline. Jalen Milroe, 17 for 21, man, 225 yards, a touchdown, and a pick. Take what I said about Cade Klubnik. Makes really great plays in difficult situations. Doesn't make the play in the easy ones. He's got a bit of Jarrett Guarantano in him. Like, what are you looking at, dude? That one pick he threw, I believe it was in the end zone. Pretty sure it was in the end zone. I'm trying to recall. Tennessee was on at this time. But the guy was sitting right up underneath it. I mean, the receiver had a guy behind him and underneath him. Why are you throwing that ball? Do you not see him? Are you blind? Do you need your vision tested? Hey, close one eye and read these letters. Repeat after me. Are you good? What are you looking at? But what's getting them out of bad scenarios and situations is his legs and his athleticism. He is an athlete who can play quarterback, right? And he'll make some great throws. Like he'll drop it in there. Like, holy crap! What a ball, dude! What a ball. But then you have guys like Jace McClellan, 17 for 105, and Jalen Milroe, 16 carries, 28 yards with a long of 20. Obviously, I'm pretty sure he took some sacks there. I would like to try to find this number for you real quick. Obviously, not prepared yet. 4 sacks going against Jalen Milroe. But who is Alabama? What is their DNA? What is their identity? Obviously, they want to run, right? And I just think at this point, I don't know that you piddle around with the quarterback situation anymore. I think you move forward with Jalen Milroe. I think Jalen Milroe is the right decision just because of the things that he's able to get you out of. I don't believe that the Alabama offensive line is all that it's cracked up to be. I know that they've experienced some injuries on that front. And Milroe is going to be able to get you out of a lot of those situations. Obviously, he took 4 sacks, but, he's going to be able to do a lot with his legs. So what I think you do is I think you open up the offense a little bit, not even necessarily with RPOs. You obviously see that in their offense sometimes. Not what it used to be under Tua and Mac Jones and the such, and when Steven Sarkisian was at the helm as the offensive coordinator. But I do think you look at a ton of read option stuff, zone reads, and you do it at multiple looks, gun, pistol, split backs, all the scenarios. Jace McClellan is, keep in mind, I'm a Tennessee fan. Is it surprising me a little bit? Are those the words? He's a good back. He's a really good back. He's kind of like that Will Shipley thing. He's not elite, right? And I think Alabama's paying the price for that, not having an elite backfield, right? They're a lot like Clemson in the sense, they don't have elite quarterback play. Bryce Young is gone. They don't have elite receivers. That once room of Devontae Smith, Henry Ruggs, Jalen Waddle, like those. That's not what you have currently. So you just don't have the elite talent on the edge, but still winning games, man, because it's just a part of their culture. It's what they're doing. So I'm very interested to pay attention to Alabama going forward. As a Tennessee fan, I'm not obviously not predicting a Tennessee win in that night in Tuscaloosa, but I am interested. I went into this season going, that's a loss for us. I'm not, I still think it is a loss, but I'm not so convinced anymore. I think Bama is very beatable if you can apply pressure and if you can corral Jalen Milroe. I mean, I think if you're defending Alabama, you load the box and you just dare him to beat you with his arm, and he's going to sometimes. He does have the arm talent. He can make the reads. I do think you simplify things for him in the pass game. The Steve Spurrier offense is really what comes to mind. Spurrier was so good in his Florida days about allowing his quarterbacks to only have to read one side of the field. A ton of trip stuff, and if it was a 4 wide situation, it was a 1x3 or 3x1, and the quarterback really just had to read one side of the field. Look it off with no intention of going to that side. Look to your trip side or to your heavy side and make a decision. Run if you're looking at cover two, have an arrow route or a drag route or a flat route, tagged with a post corner streak of some sort, and make your safety and corner make a decision and make the easy throw. I think those are the things that you start to look at with Jalen Milroe. Maybe that's something they're already doing. I'm placing emphasis on it if I'm them. Flipping to Ole Miss very quickly. I really thought that. Well, first of all, let me say this game I think was closer than the final score resembles. 24-10. Felt a lot closer to that. It's a 14-point difference. Just felt much closer than that. Jackson Dart is a good quarterback. 20 for 35, 244, and a pick. Quinshon Judkins is that dude, but the Alabama defense, didn't really have it that day. 13 for 56, 4.3, long of 14. Again, kind of come back to the situation with Ole Miss. If that attempt wasn't it, when are you going to do it? If I'm an Alabama fan, I trust that Saban is really going to get things right. I think your future is a guy like Ty Simpson, who will be in his third year in the program come the 24 season. But also, you can make the argument he had a year to learn the offense and do all the things, and he didn't win the job. Maybe not. I don't know. I feel very scattered right now, kind of talking about the Tide. The Tennessee fan in me likes to see him struggle. It's a good thing. I hate that for all of our Alabama listeners, but I am enjoying it. I will say this to you guys, though. Appreciate you guys for listening in. The wheels are not falling off in Tuscaloosa. Things are not on fire. You just gotta let it correct itself. You gotta trust the guy who has proven himself over and over and over and over again. And the saying is just reigning true for you guys. If you have two quarterbacks, you don't have any quarterbacks. You got three. You don't have a quarterback. I do think you're right out with Jalen Milroe. Props to the Tide. I will say this. I think you got a really good win over a really good Ole Miss team. Way to keep them down in that division, or what's on the latter days of this division. Anyway, nonetheless, Tide 24, Rebels 10. Saban gets it done. Buckeyes go into South Bend and get a really good win over Notre Dame, 17-14 with a walk-off field goal. And Ryan Day was an absolute cannon. Loose cannon in his post-game presser. And I think that's the real Ryan Day. I think that's the Ryan Day that the players see Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Not that the Ryan Day that you see before the media and on the sideline. I think that dude is a firecracker, loose cannon, basically yelling at Lou Holtz. Listen, calm down. Lou Holtz doesn't speak English, okay? And he doesn't even know what he's saying. But I guess that you use that as bulletin board material and you convinced yourself of whatever message you were telling your team. But it worked. It worked. My question for you, Ohio State, is yes, I think Notre Dame is a really good team. Elite quarterback play with Sam Hartman. You beat a good team. Can you continue to do that? Are you good enough to do that? Are you good enough to break the streak against Michigan in Ann Arbor? Are you good enough to host a really good Penn State team in where did it go? In mid-October and beat the Nittany Lions? Can you keep doing that? I'm not convinced you can. I think at best you can split those games. Right now, what I saw out of you and Marvin Harrison, even though he got banged up, comes back onto the field. I thought that injury was going to end his career. Holy cow! And he marches right back onto the field. Like your leg bent ways that it shouldn't. You went against science, but whatever. Why did I take science in middle school if Marvin Harrison is just going to defy it? Whatever. Can you continue this? Can you continue? I think this win sends you in the right trajectory. You're going to have two games before you come out and host Penn State. But did you get what you wanted out of your quarterback in McCord? I need to find these numbers. I just had it pulled up. There we go. Here we go. Gamecast recap. My gosh, box score is actually what I want right here. Tom McCord, 21 for 37, 240, no scores, no picks. Travion Henderson, 14-104, with a long of 61. You know what? This is one of those games where Notre Dame was really in control of it. Notre Dame was the one that was setting the pace. You had some big plays. McCord made the plays at minimum that he needed to make to keep you in it. I thought that you got outplayed. You arguably got outcoached, but it doesn't resemble itself on the scoreboard, right? It doesn't resemble itself there. I think what that says of you, Ohio State, is that you're gritty. You don't roll over, right? You don't quit so easily. I just really question if you can continue that. If you get in another fight like that, what's going to come of you? Right now, I don't like you to beat Penn State and Michigan. All right. Notre Dame. What about you, though, man? Kind of feel bad for you. I like Marcus Freeman. Really, really like this guy. Classy guy. I like Sam Hartman. Don't like that he went to Notre Dame. Would have liked him in Knoxville. 17 for 25 for Sam Hartman, $175 and a touchdown. I mean, it's good, but it obviously wasn't good enough. And if you'd have told me that, hey, Notre Dame, you're gonna hold Ohio State to 17, bruh, taking you. It's not how this unfolded. I am basically giving our listeners no insight on this game right now. Just talking about it. Like my content sounds total surfaced and stupid, but I just really want to summarize this whole thing this way. Ohio State, can you sustain that type of play? Excuse me, can you continue to win with that type of play? I don't think you can. Matter of fact, looking through your schedule, hosting Maryland, at Purdue, you travel to Wisconsin. I could even see you losing to one of these guys not named Michigan or Ohio State. Wisconsin's going to be rowdy. Minnesota's decent. Purdue, you always get the best of Purdue. Who knows, man? Who knows? But I will say this. On behalf of Saturday, props to you. Ryan Day, reduce your caffeine intake. Calm down, right? Stop picking on old men. Buckeyes, 17. Irish, 14. Razorbacks were so close. Lose to the Tigers, 31-34. And my leadoff question, who's in control of the West? I don't mean on paper. Like, who's in control of the West? Who is grabbing this division by the horns and saying, this belongs to me? In my mind, it's not LSU, which is really surprising to me. LSU, massive favorites by so many people to win the West, simply due to the fact, to the return of Jaden Daniels. And dudes like Harold Perkins and Mason Smith on your defense. Malik Neighbors catching balls for Daniels. But you know what? I felt talent-wise really a lot better than Arkansas. And Arkansas is playing without Rocket Sanders, who we haven't seen, I believe, since the Ope week, who's dealing with a knee injury. 31-34 in Baton Rouge. I mean, I just don't know that you could have convinced me of this. Vegas had this game at 17.5 in LSU's favor. Now, they did hit the over of 55, right? well over. KJ Jefferson goes for 21 for 31, 289, 3 touchdowns, 2 costly picks. They're obviously missing Rocket Sanders, Rashad Dubinion. That's my best attempt. 15 for 78. KJ Jefferson was leading rusher by attempts with 16 carries, 48 yards. Then you flip over to LSU, Jaden Daniels, who had a really good night. 20 for 29, 320, 4 scores, 4 tutties, found the end zone 4 times, 1 pick. And they rushed. Logan Diggs led them, 14 for 97. And Jaden Daniels had 10 carries of his own for 36. And Malik Neighbors straight balled out. Balled out. 8 catches, $130. 2 scores. But then you got this other guy, right? Brian Thomas Jr. 5 catches, $133. 2 scores himself. Who's going to get control of the West? Who's going to get control of the West? I think LSU is a good team. I don't think that they're playing to their potential, though. LSU is doing this thing where they're playing to their competition. Went nose to nose for a minute there with Florida State, right? Played around with Arkansas, obviously handled a Grambling State as anyone should. But who is LSU? Who is the best team in the West? I know that I should be recapping this game, but my gosh, how do you not pay attention to the West at this point? Alabama's got their struggles. They got their thing. Ole Miss just took a lump on the chin to the Tide, so they're now behind in schedule. This LSU-Alabama game come probably late November. Let's see if I can figure this out real quick. I do think it's going to determine the West. November 4th. I do think that this game is going to determine the West. But I can't wait to see it because it used to be the game of two heavyweights punching each other in the mouth, changing blows, right? What's that game going to be, right? Who can miscue more? I mean, how is this thing going to unfold? Who's going to win the West? Ole Miss is going to be very intriguing. They're going to travel to Ole Miss next weekend. LSU. Did I say that? I don't know what I said. LSU is going to travel to Ole Miss. I'm getting a phone call, so I'm managing this. Traveling to Ole Miss next weekend. That's not going to be easy. Not going to be easy by any means. Currently, LSU is favored -2. You're going to travel to Missouri. I like you there. You're going to host Auburn. That could be sneaky. I don't think Auburn is all that bad. I really, really don't. You're going to host Army. You're going to have to prepare for that triple option. It's going to buy time in your practice. And then you're going to travel to Tuscaloosa. You're going to host Florida, host Georgia State, host A&M. You can lose to Florida. You can certainly lose to A&M. You can certainly lose to Bama. You can certainly lose to Ole Miss. Play around with your food long enough with Auburn, they might get you. Now, I'm not saying these are losses, and I'm not predicting them to be losses. That's what I'm saying. I think LSU is favored, probably in all of these, even including the Bama game. But you better stop matching your competition. You better stop messing around. And I don't know what the issue is, but I just think that LSU is not playing to their potential or matching whoever it is across them on the other side of the line of scrimmage. Nonetheless, they got it done. LSU 34, Arkansas 31. It's going to bring us to the end of the show. What a weekend it was, man. I mean, just so good from, Colorado getting tallywhacked, the Alabama Ole Miss game. That was fun to watch. Man, why am I brain farting? Oh, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Tennessee getting right in the get right game. All the things. You better soak it in. You better enjoy it because week 5 is already coming. It's here. We got to talk about it. Appreciate you guys so much for hanging out with me. I'm obviously not as good without my buddy Mike talking with me, hanging out. Kind of hard talking for a long time about multiple different games that you didn't get to see all of. But we do love you guys, and we thank you so much for hanging out with us, for tuning in, for texting us after you've listened to an episode. We thoroughly appreciate it. So neat to wake up in the morning, check the podcast, and see who all has listened, and it's so cool when we look in 2 hours of an episode being up, you're looking at triple digits. Like, holy smokes! Like, we're not that cool. We're not that cool. But you make us feel pretty dang cool, and we certainly appreciate it. Nonetheless, I'm not going to ramble anymore. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. We love you guys so much. Enjoy this college football season. Don't be a jerk. Don't be a prick. Okay? Don't be like the Colorado Buffaloes and disrespect somebody else's stuff. All right? We love you guys. God bless. Go Vols.
Pandemonium reigns.